Hi everyone, welcome to Data Dashes. Today we're going to be doing an analysis on COVID-19 in South Asia. So this project is going to have 3 steps for it. In the first step, we'll be using MS Excel to prepare the data that we're going to analyze. And the second step, we're going to use SQL queries to actually analyze the data. And in step 3, we're going to use Tableau Public to visualize the data in a beautiful interactive dashboard that we can play around with. Alright, let's begin. First, we will download the dataset. So to download the dataset, we'll go to ourworldindata.org. So Our World in Data, not just COVID-19, they have data about a ton of things, as you can see here. I mean, you can check it out for yourself. So what we need here is the COVID-19 data. So we're going to go to health and coronavirus pandemic. Don't worry, I'm going to give you the link to the direct data set so you don't have to go through stuff like this, but I'm just showing you around in ourworldindata.org because I love their website. So let's go to download dataset, and I will be providing you this link over here. So we're going to scroll down over here and we're going to take the CSV. They update the data on COVID-19 every single day. So as you can see here, the CSV file was updated 5 hours ago. So I think they have data from January 2020 to today, which is the 8th of November 2021. 2 years worth of data. It's amazing. Alright, we have it, and it's a pretty big data file. So we're going to move it over here, and as you can see, it's got around 34 megabytes. So if the CSV file is 34 MBs big, you know that's going to be a lot of data inside. Now we're going to open it, and we're going to go into step 1, which is data preparation using MS Excel. So we'll open the CSV. Alright, I mean, just look at this. So much data. Alright, so let's see how many rows it has. It has 131,711 rows of data. And how many columns does it have? Too many. It's gonna be a lot of data inside here. What we're gonna do here is, if we try to import this entire file, it's gonna be a hassle for us. Number one is because of the size. We're gonna run into some problems. I tried importing this entire file. It caused me a lot of problems, errors. The programs kept getting stuck. So the size is the first reason that we're gonna prepare the data the way we want to without just taking the entire thing into SQL Self-Management Studio. And secondly, when we go through these column titles, you will see that some of these columns can be grouped together. And more importantly, there are some columns that we don't need. New deaths per million. Like, we can calculate this using SQL. As per our first objective of tackling the size of this data set, I'm going to remove these kinds of columns that I can calculate using SQL if I want to. But obviously, if you're doing a very comprehensive data analysis in like a job or like a serious research center, obviously deleting columns is like a very bad thing to do. But for the purposes of this project, I'm going to be removing some columns that I don't want. Alright, first let's try and see what kind of groups we can make out of this column. First, we have the ISO code, which is like a code for the country name, and then we have the continent, the location, which is, I think here is the country name, and the date, obviously, and here starts the actual data. Alright, so the first column we have here is total cases, and then new cases smooth, total deaths, new deaths smooth, total cases per million, new cases, deaths. So from column E all the way to column P, it's all about cases and deaths. So this is typically what you see in the news, right? If you put on the news at night, the news is going to give you a breakdown of how many cases were recorded within the day and how many deaths were recorded within the day. So these are like primary figures that people look out for. I'm deciding to group these columns together, cases and deaths. So I'm gonna color it for now. Next, we have the reproduction rate, ICU patients per million, hospital weekly ICU data related to hospitals and hospital admissions. We can group those together from Q all the way to Y. Right, next we have new tests, total tests per 1,000 tests, possible positive rate, tests, vaccinations. Alright, from Z to AH we have stuff related to testing. So I'll choose another color. You might be wondering why I'm coloring these things, right? I'm coloring these things because I'm going to break this one big CSV file into different CSV files containing these groups, so that size gets reduced first of all, and I can like properly see what kind of categories we are looking at. I'm coloring these because after I go through all these columns, I'm going to be breaking this CSV file into multiple different CSV files. I'll be taking columns out and into a new file. Alright, next we have total vaccinations, vaccination. What's a booster? Fine. Vaccination. A lot of columns on vaccinations. AI to AS, we have information about vaccinations. We will color that. Stringency index is, you know what, I'm going to take population and I'm going to take it all the way to the beginning here, and I'm going to leave it next to the location. Why? Because my intention of columns A to E is to keep these columns as default columns in all different CSV files. Meaning, so these 5 columns are like the anchor of the data set. So I'd like to leave the country code, the continent, the country name, the population and the day together. I also think we can take the population density because it's connected with population obviously. So we will leave it here. Alright, we'll continue. Median age. So this is like age information. So we will choose like the GDP per capita, extreme poverty. So these two are economic figures. I don't know whether you can call them economic figures or what. Cardiovascular diabetes, female smokers, male smokers. So health, I'm gonna group those things together. Next we have hand washing facilities, hospital beds. These seem like facilities, so I'm gonna group those together. So we have life expectancy, human development index. Those two seem like measurements of how good a country is for a human. Next we have excess mortality. Alright, we're gonna group these two together and I'm gonna group these together for excess mortality. Now we have some decent columns here. Alright, now we're gonna be creating the different CSV files. Alright, next I wanna seriously reduce the amount of data we have here. That is by reducing the number of rows. How do we do this? So first we have 131,711 rows. The way we're going to reduce this is by removing some countries because our project is focused on South Asia. We don't need countries Zimbabwe, Australia, US. We don't need all these other countries. All we need are 8 countries. So South Asia has 8 countries: Afghanistan, Bhutan, Bangladesh, Sri Lanka, India, Pakistan, Maldives and Nepal. We only need those 8 countries. Let's remove everything else from this so we can massively reduce the size of the data set. So we'll be using filters for this one. So Shift L, and next we're gonna filter this. First we're gonna take Afghanistan, next we'll take Bhutan, next we'll take Sri Lanka. So we have all the South Asian countries. So we're gonna open a new Excel file. Next we're gonna copy all the cells over here, paste it right here. Alright, so we reduced the number of rows to 5,035 from 131,711. That's a huge drop. We've literally dropped more than 131,000, obviously. I'm a little bit bad at math, mental. Let's not get into it. Anyway, we reduced a huge number of rows. That's the moral of the story. So now we're going to remove some columns that I don't want for my project. Alright, so first we remove these things called new cases smoothed. Let's remove new cases smoothed, new deaths smoothed. I don't want. You know what, let's expand the size of the column. So total cases per million. I don't need these columns because I can create those columns for myself in SQL. Alright, so reproduction rate, ICU patients per million. Again, I don't want these comparison figures. I can create them for myself, and per million we don't need to again. Alright, next we have tests per thousand, smooth per thousand, per case, test units, we don't need you guys. I'm gonna leave positive rate here. Total vaccinations, people vaccinated, fully vaccinated. I don't want boosters. Smooth, I don't want smooth. Per 100 again, I don't want per 100. Per 100, no need. Per million also no need. Hospital beds per 1,000. Alright, life expectancy, human development index. Excess mortality, again, we need absolute cumulative. Per million, we don't need you. Alright, done. Now I'm going to break this up into different files. First we'll be taking the cases and the deaths into a separate file. Right, so we'll save this as primary because these are the primary numbers people look for. How many cases were recorded, how many deaths were recorded. We'll keep those there. Right, we'll do undo. Now we'll get rid of these columns and we'll leave the blue color here. And these are hospital admissions, ICU admissions. Alright, save as hospital. I'm going to save it as a CSV. So I'll save this as a CSV. Undo. Actually, I created my previous file as an Excel workbook, so I'm going to change that into a CSV. CSV, comma, delimited, primary. Alright. Okay, we'll close this. Okay. I'm gonna remove this. Then we're gonna get the tests. Save it as tests. Undo. Delete. Next we have vaccination information. Very important data set. I think no matter what project you do, you're gonna need the vaccination numbers, just like the cases and the deaths. Very important number. Like vaccinations. Right. Take the stringency index. Next we'll take the age group. Next we have economic figures. Just save that as economic. Next we have health. Next we have facility information, I guess, or we already used the one called hospital. I could have batched these together with them, but it's fine. We'll just keep this as facilities. Next, we'll call it life expectancy. And finally we have excess mortality. So I'm probably not going to use all of these files, but I just kept them together because it's not a good idea to come back and prepare more data once you start the analysis. It's going to disturb your entire flow. If you really want to, you can come back, but I don't want to. So I'm going to prepare my data beforehand so I can save my time when doing the actual analysis. I think it's a good thing to do. Alright, we are done with the data preparation. We have prepared everything we need for the data analysis, which is going to be the second step. First step over, so let's go to step number 2, data analysis using SQL queries.